Tuber's High Score Challenge. It's another Sunday afternoon, another grey and cloudy day, a bit of rain. It's a little bit bright as well though, so it's kind of like a nice cloudy rainy day, if that makes sense. Looks quite refreshing out there. Anyway, Continental Circus went to the final round of this season's Tuber's High Score Challenge, and it's a game which again, like quite a classic arcade game, but one which I didn't see much around back in the day myself. The only real experience I've had playing this before is on the Amstrad, which of course it plays a bit differently, but it's a very good conversion. Although the version I had on the Amstrad was the 464 plus one, and it did that thing with the tape clicking, where it loads and for some reason the tape relay just goes crazy and sort of click, 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 like that, which is really off-putting and probably wears the tape mechanism out. So yeah, anyway, this is sort of quite a new experience in some ways, and I have to admit as well, racing games are not my strong point. For some reason I do get sort of quite easily frustrated crashing into things and sort of having to start again. Even though, like with a lot of other games, like you get shot and lose your life and end your run and things, like I can put up with that. But with racing games, for some reason, I find it sort of difficult to get along with. I sort of get into a pattern of just like going flat out and then sort of like piling into a car and then sort of just like restarting and then just like repeating the same thing again and again. But Continental Circus here, I think, is a bit more forgiving. It's certainly on the more sort of fun side of racing, and of course with it being in the arcade, sort of very arcadey as well. So like nothing too serious here. So it's kind of a game which, yeah, although frustrating, crashing into stuff, could sort of like restart and sort of like, well, first of all, get back to where I was fairly quickly, but also it'd be sort of like fairly fun as well, sort of just trying to sort of get a better position on each race. I have to admit as well, I was having doubts as to how well I'd do in this because my controller started messing up, and I wasn't about to sort of go shopping anywhere today to sort of get a replacement one, and it seems to need an analog pad as well for the steering. You can use keys, but it doesn't seem to be sensitive enough. It sort of seems to sort of turn gradually, so it sort of needs that stick for those sort of sharp turns and sort of like finer control. So for a little bit, yeah, I was a bit worried because I was getting a bit of drift on my pad, which is wearing out, and also sometimes the steering would lock. So I was thinking, oh crikey, like I'm gonna have to sort of just resort to what I did a few days ago. But fortunately, for whatever reason, as the pad warmed up, it seemed to sort itself out. So that was definitely a plus there. Back onto the game itself, there's these sort of interesting sort of rain events which happen, which encourage you to change your tyres. To be honest, whilst on previous runs I did pit in as suggested, I think on this run I just ignored it, and I didn't seem to notice that much difference. So I was wondering whether it would be best to pit in or not strategy-wise, but in the end, on this run certainly, it's something I just didn't bother with really. Just a point as well, in terms of like the general progression through the races, yeah, you need to reach a certain position by the end of the race. This was actually my sort of best run by a long shot in terms of like position wise. I mean, I might have got sort of close-ish before, but this was like a really sort of like consistently good run for those first few races. So I was getting sort of great positions there to start with, and that takes the pressure off a bit, sort of like as the races go on, because you don't want to be sort of like trying to go a bit too fast to get those extra few positions, you know, at the risk of sort of crashing into things and stuff. And I think the key is as well, once you get those positions under your belt, then it's kind of like the objective just becomes to sort of like not crash really. That's what eats up most of your time. If you have if you have one bump, then it sort of sets your car on fire. But you can sort of like you can deal with that, and if you're close enough to the end of the racing, you can just like ignore it and sort of, yeah, just get to the end. If you do crash again though, or you do a very high speed crash, then yeah, you blow up and it sort of puts you back in the middle of the road, but that takes a long time. You'll be lucky if you get away with one of those in a race. So it's best that once you've got your positions under your belt, just in a way the objective becomes don't crash. You still need to put in a decent pace, particularly some of the later races as well, but it becomes less of a sort of like a objective to sort of like climb those positions. And I think what's pleasing about this game as well is like the courses, they've all got their different characteristics and sort of like certain bits which you sort of like you learn to deal with it and be aware of. Like Monaco here, you know, classic Monaco, sort of lots of like sharp turns, and for the first part of this race it's all like this really, so you never really want to be thinking about picking up too much speed in the early part of this race. Not until you get past this pit stop coming up, which as you can see is much needed here because my car's on fire. You do get a fair bit of time before it explodes, but yeah, I wouldn't have been able to miss the pit stop on this occasion without my car blowing up shortly afterwards. And then in the second half of the race here, there's still a sort of few more turns and things, but yeah, the track opens up a bit, so yeah, you can sort of start to put your foot down and get those positions. And another bump there, which is a bit worrying, yeah, because now the pressure's on not to have another bump, otherwise the car blows up and big risk of not being able to complete the race. However, because I've sort of got those positions earlier on, it's kind of like, yeah, just take it easy. Yeah, the road was congested a bit there, a couple of them crash out, gain a couple of positions, make it to the end. That's quite good as well, like sometimes the road's congested, the computer cars fly into each other, and so you automatically gain a couple of positions that way. So for some reason I find it quite satisfying when that happens, but it's I think it helps with the climbing positions thing. It doesn't sort of like sometimes if you get stuck behind a group of cars, I think it could be awkward if you sort of like need those positions, but having them sort of crash into each other every now and then just like loosens it up a bit. And yeah, just like the sense of speed as well, just like with those sort of scaling graphics, it's just yeah, it's still exhilarating. That's a good thing about these games, like they're still thrilling to play nowadays. You can have all the sort of fancy polygons and stuff, but at the end of the day, if you've got a quick fun racer like this, then it's still a really good blast. So I'm ignoring the tyre change there. This is a track as well where you do need to be really fast on it. I think this is the Germany one. It's like there doesn't tend to be much time left at all by the time you reach the end. So yeah, made that 4 seconds there. So up to rank 10 already, which is again sort of like beyond my wildest dreams in a sense. There's certainly I've not got as high as 10th by this stage before this run today. And in a way, like, the worry for me now was becoming, because with these later tracks I hadn't practiced them as much, so although my position was looking really good, it's kind of like, yeah, it can all be for nothing if I have a bad crash or I'm too slow. Because yeah, timeout equals game over. So, got quite a few twists and turns in this one. But yeah, it's just a case of like You can usually get away with just like easing your foot off the accelerator on the lighter turns, you know, with those like 2 red areas. For the sort of like sharp turns like that one just there, sort of need to just hit brake for half a second, but that's usually enough to get you around. The biggest danger really is like, yeah, when you come up to like other cars in a corner and just like the angles as you go into the corner or come out of the corner, sort of means you sort of fly into them. It's better to be patient and sort of just like take your time, just like let them sort of like just keep pace with them until the road opens up a bit. Okay, up to third. I'm not sure entirely how the scoring system works. I don't know if it is just a flat out further you go more points you get thingy, or if any of the points are calculated based on your position at the time right at the end of the race or anything like that. I really don't know. I might just have to sort of look at a couple of videos and sort of just try and work out what's happened with my score as well. But I think with this run, I don't feel as though I could do any better really. It's kind of like, yeah, I'm not going to spend the rest of the afternoon sort of trying to fine tune this run, because it's also the thing as well which sometimes the more you play it, I think you need to be sort of like a bit relaxed, sort of playing racing games. As the stress builds, the concentration goes, and it just compounds itself. And so I was happy to take this run as my run for this. So last course, course number 8, Japan, starting in first place. Now I've noticed when I've got to this stage before, a lot of the cars crash into each other, so if you're a bit further back position wise, then you don't need to worry too much, because the cars crash into each other and you can just sort of take a lot of positions pretty easily. But this was a track which again I sort of wasn't that familiar with. I'd got to here once before on a single credit, but sort of just messed it up, and I think I crashed into sort of just outside the pit lane. That was game over. So, but yes, like again, my focus here is just like not crash. I was a bit pissed off that, because you lose a couple of positions at the start unless you get a good start, which I was failing to do on pretty much all the races. So I was thinking I'll be pissed off if I can't get that first place back. But again, the priority was just like don't crash, don't crash. And I'm coming up to bits like this thinking, is this the final straight? Like, because I've still got to catch up with that car in front there. And tempting as it was, yeah, sort of slowed down, didn't bump into that car. And 1 second left, 0 seconds left, first place. Yeah, I didn't notice actually, but the time ran out. I was slowing down because my time had run out. Those are the cars behind me overtook me, but my position didn't change even though I hadn't crossed the finishing line. I didn't notice that at the time. I mean, I remember being happy that I'd just about made it over the line, but blimey, that was close. And yeah, a bit of good fortune there in terms of the positions not changing. I think that was very, very lucky. Anyway, lovely little ending here with a bottle of bubbly to celebrate. A couple of lovely ladies. Everyone's smiling, having a good time, and letting the credits roll. Just as I'm saying this, the sun outside has come out as well, so it's looking to be a brighter day than it was before. Taito, or is it Taito? Never sure on that one. Anyway, high score table. So score is 5,371,500. 5371500, and 1 credit clear. So yeah, very happy with that. Again, racing games are not my strongest point, but yeah, really good fun racer this one. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Okay, that's my run. We'll see how that goes. I've no idea how that's going to sort of compare to other runs. If it's going to be enough to finish first or not, we'll just have to see. But I've had a fun blast nonetheless. So that's my score, and bye for now.